welcome to Soul Speak. Today we are going to be talking about being vocal.
Yes.
And I feel like that's kind of funny because we're on a podcast and we're already talking, but being vocal about things in your life, that's what we're talking about. So I am Rachel, and I've got my wonderful co-host with me here, Grace. Hi, Grace.
Hi, everyone.
And as usual, we're going to get into our Instagram stuff so we can get that out the way and get right on into this unrehearsed conversation. Again, my name is Rachel. I am a writer. I write poems. This week, I actually wrote some bars up in this
Hey.
I am working on a manuscript for young adults who have experienced trauma. I am working on that, a curriculum rather. My Instagram is The Sassy Rachel. And in addition to that, we've got our podcast Instagram, which is Soul Speak _podcasts on Instagram. And I will now pass it over to Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace Kugrena, and you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Grace_Kugrena, and you can also find me on Instagram my handle is @the_reading_hideout, and you can find my work there. So I write children picture books, Kidlit. You can be able to find that on Amazon as well as Kindle. And you can also find all of the updates that I have for school reading, storytelling, as well as events on my Instagram page. Make sure to follow me.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've gotten that out the way, Grace, today we're talking about being vocal.
Yes.
Vocal, yo. You want to hit us off, or shall I go? How you want to do this?
I have said, when Rachel came with this idea, I have so much to say. There's so many things that I have on my chest that I need to bring out. The importance of being vocal is such a big thing, right? And before I actually get into all of the details, I just find it very ironic that we are in an age of social media where everybody is vocal, right? Whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on Facebook, we have a plethora of opinions just dominating the internets, right? Al Gore's internet is flooded with our own opinions. However, we are still the generations who are quick to silence people in an instant, right? The way we can shut people down, disregard their feelings, disregard their thoughts, we can literally bully them into silence, whether it be us making people lose their jobs by being online and reporting them based on things that we don't agree with, or just a situation where, depending on who that person is, depending on popularity, if we don't like them and what they're saying, we cancel them. Cancel culture. That's part of also silencing people, right? Yeah. And their voices. So I just find it ironic. You've got this platform, all of these platforms that gives you a voice, but the same people on the same platform can also take your voice away, right? So that's just a little caveat that I wanted to touch upon. But let's go back to silencing, or the importance of being vocal. I've had a whole lot of experiences corporately and outside of the work environment where I have felt that I was being silenced or being bullied into saying certain things, doing certain things, or just being silent because my opinion wasn't warranted to those people who I work for. So this is a very important topic for me because I remember 3 years ago crying out of a job that I quit because I wouldn't conform and I wouldn't do what the status quo asked of me, even though it went against my own values, even though I was being treated unfairly, even though there was this hierarchy of whoever can kiss ass the most, they will be chosen, even though they got treated like trash, them as well, in comparison to you. there will be the chosen few, the elected few. And if you wasn't going to get with that, you was an outsider and you was the runt of the litter, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember I quit my job because I was afraid to vocalize my needs, my want for so long that when I finally did, I wasn't able to communicate my needs in the right way. I exploded. I lost my nerve. Mm-hmm. And I did something that our listeners should not be doing. So I'm not trying to give you guys advice. I don't want you to cuss out your employees or employers, sorry. I don't need you to start, fighting people in the workplace. But essentially, roughly, that's what I did. Because I was a horrible person. I literally cussed out my employer in a meeting and cussed out my colleagues because they weren't saying anything. They were also complacent. And I felt like they were all part of the same clique, the same group. Or it was a situation where they were too cowardly. Like, it was really cowardly to allow things to happen and see things happen and them not really interject or say anything about it because they didn't want to oppose the status quo. Anyways, so I lost my nerve, told them what I thought about them, got my staff, quit, and walked out of the building. And I cried all the way home. And this is the important part of this conversation. Why is it that I cried on my way home? Because essentially, I didn't want to quit my job. I didn't want to lose my job. I wish there was a way that I could have spoken to them effectively. And I wish that there was a way for them to hear me out. I wish there was a way where, in a perfect scenario, in a perfect world, I wanted there to be dialogue where it was a safe space to speak. That doesn't mean you agree on everything, but that means you give me that space to freely speak. Right. Or you allow me to say my piece without having to bully me, or me having that feeling of being threatened that I'm going to get bullied, or I'm going to have my job taken away from me, I'm going to lose my income, or whatever it is, right? But that space wasn't available, right? And I didn't know how to deal with that properly, where I felt like, okay, I'm going to vocalize my needs, my feelings, my thoughts, in order for me to get somewhere. Right. I was too afraid as well. For a really long time, I was too afraid. Right. Why was that though? That's what I really want to get into. Why is it that there was a fear factor there where a lot of us, not just me, I'm sure, we're afraid to speak. We're afraid to say something. We don't feel safe. Right. We're constantly struggling with our own thoughts. And sometimes we don't even know what to say. Sometimes we know that we're not going to be received. Right. Someone is not going to receive us in a way where we actually will be effective at communicating. So over to you, Rach.
Well, you said a lot there.
I had a lot on my chest.
It's not in a bad way, just like my thoughts are like trying to really focus on one thing because it is so meaty. So much meat. So I can say for myself that I have a similar story to yours, Grace, where in my youth, I did quite literally curse out my boss. I exactly cursed out my boss. And I came back up. I went for a breather downstairs. I'm like, yeah. I was like, okay, I need to, take some space, and I'm gonna go back and work because he was dead wrong. He was micromanaging literally over my shoulder, and he had a habit of that. So I come back upstairs, and he didn't have the balls to fire me, but the manager under him fired me, and I did not understand why I was fired.
The hilarity of this story is so funny. Like, she cussed him out and still was shocked that she got fired.
I'm like, but he was wrong, yo. Which he was. But, I learned something really big that day, is that whoever has the power can make the big decision. And it wasn't a matter of, especially if it's somebody who's not trying to see you or really own up to what it is that their part is, they're not going to play that game with you. So whoever has that power, however they want it to go, that's how it will go. So I learned from that day. And I think it's situations like that we live in fear of, because we're the type of culture that it's a capital culture. It's capitalistic. So there's that. There's also the Black factor. Okay, we are immigrants in another country. We are lucky to be here. These are the mentalities that I had in my family anyway. And basically any morsel it is that you receive, you ought to be grateful for.
Grateful, yeah.
So this type of thought process, you are exercising your behavior and yourself in fear. And whatever you do in fear is not going to be successful. So you're operating in fear. You don't have any tools other than leaning on the fear. So there's no way for you to learn, from the extremes of how it is that we behave in my household, was that when you're angry, you yell. You do not
lash out.
You do not have conversations or discussions. You do not, have it in conversations in a loving or understanding way. It's when it erupts, when you can't take it anymore, you erupt. So you've got all of these pre-existing conditions, I will call them, of behaving. So it only makes sense that we will erupt in an environment, whatever other environment it is, we're going to lean on to the tools that we know. So I am blessed that I have always been in a state of understanding what it is my family experience has been and making it different. And I will say, like, when I was younger, and I would say like maybe 12 years old, I was like, you know what? I don't know what's wrong in my family, but I don't like it. So anything that's not this is what I want to emulate or do. So I would really look at situations that I went through. I would analyze them in my household and my behaviors outside. And that's how I was able to gather data so that I could make something different or make another choice. So that was always a part of my thought process of, how do I not do this? So it wasn't an easy process, obviously, because I cursed out the boss, I got fired. And then what happens is you get on the other end of, oh, now I can't say anything. And so my life has been building the balance, basically, of how can I be my authentic self and say what I need to say, but also be professional. And I think I've made an art form out of it.
He has, ladies and gentlemen, and I can vouch for that. I, on the other hand, unfortunately, I do not have the right tools. I'm still learning. I am still an amateur.
I'm a decade older, trust me.
I am an amateur in these streets. I do not know what I'm doing, but Rachel here is an artiste. She is the connoisseur of professionalism, professional talk, as I like to say. So why don't you just give us a few examples on how to have that balance, though, of really voicing your thoughts and ideas in a way where you are received and understood, being your authentic self, and still talking their talk, talking their language. And when I say they, I'm talking about anyone in opposition to us. The corporation, the man. Literally.
And actually, this is not only in corporate America, this is actually the world around, but you see it really pervasive in corporate America, because I think it's a society where, or it's a culture and an environment where it is driven by outward results. So where I don't know, inner learnings, maturity, all of that is pushed to the side, which actually would make it much better, a much better culture. But that is not something that is valued. So what is valued is results. So I think the biggest thing, or a couple of the biggest things that I learned that helped me navigate, is the fact that people are not trying to hear you. So I have an understanding of that. So I'm not like, I know I'm not at least gaslighting myself, because people are going to gaslight me. This is the culture. I think when you face the truth about things without trying to change them at first, that it makes a big difference. So acceptance, like I expect for, when I speak to my manager, this is going to be the result. It's okay though, because it is not something that I can deal with. Whatever the situation is, I must speak up for myself regardless. So, how I balance that is understanding that I won't be heard most of the times, choosing my battles of which ones I'm actually going to speak on, and knowing that it is not my job to change anybody. My job is to be honest within myself, and then being willing to deal with the consequences. If I get fired, or like how you and I did with our last job, we left.
Mic drop.
Left. So for me, it's not about changing anybody, because that's actually been a life battle for me, of trying to change people in my personal life. That doesn't work. So it is not, my job is not to change you. My job is to be honest for myself. My job is to be have integrity within myself. I can't live with, so I'll tell you an experience that I had. I was an admin for this banker, because I worked in a bank. And I had a reputation of being able to work with the most difficult bankers. These are top white men who are powerful and privileged, and have no regard or desire to regard the feelings of others, because they're making money. That's what's praised. And nobody's trying to have them be accountable for anything. So
they hold value in this space.
Yes. And anything else, whoever else is around them must adjust.
Wow.
So at one point, we were in the season of bonuses. And when you have a team as a manager, you have a team of people under you. In bonus time, especially how it went in this bank, you are speaking to a lot of your team members, and you're receiving like, hey, this is not the bonus that I wanted. You're getting all types of, you're being pulled in many directions, and not everything is positive. And this all has to happen in a time period before you get your bonus, which that is annoying as hell. But anyway, so he was under a lot of stress is what I'm saying. And I understood that he was under a lot of stress. And the way in which he spoke to me not only revealed how stressed he was, but how he took out his stress. And he was taking it out on me. So for me, I was like, I know me. You know, this is me in my late 30s. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to take none of that. Like, I let it go by once. It happens again. I said, okay, I need to find a way to speak to him. It must happen, because then I'm going to lash out, because I do have a strong sense of, I'm not about to be disrespected. I'm not that person.
Thank you. Absolutely.
So I had to think of a way to be able to have him receive it without me coming out my face, because I'm going to come out my face after that, and I'm definitely going to get fired. Which it's like, you know, here we go again. So what I did was I went into his office. I definitely prayed and took a breath.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous.
And I asked him, I said, did I do something that is bothering you? Did I do something wrong?
Wow.
And he said,
I'm scared.
He looked at me. He said, Rachel, this is not the time to ask me that question. He said, you are always nice. I am not a nice person. You're always nice. And right now it's a difficult and tough time. And he said, you never have done anything wrong to me. And I said, okay, I just wanted to check, because in how you were behaving, I wasn't sure. So, and with that, I walked out, and he was nice to me for the rest of the day. I didn't give him two looks. I didn't look at him no more after that. I was like, I said what I said. That's not what I wanted to say. But it's like, I let you know, I put you on notice, my dude, that you have done something that bothers me. You got the muted version. And he
got the message. And that was so like, what do you call it? What's the word? I don't even know. When things are not as intense. Like, I'm literally in awe of this, because this is an artist at her craft. Like, how did you do all of this? And then I walked out, I sashayed out, you know, and then flicked my hair.
Sashay out. I was very, like, the environment was really, I kept it muted, because what was important, like you said, is for the message to be received. I didn't give him, because I know if you're gonna give him the same fire, he's definitely not gonna hear. He's white, he's older, that's not gonna happen. But to let him know, hey, this is bothering me, but not in so many words. It was received in. I was his best admin. I know that for sure.
Subtle. That was so subtle.
Yes. So those are the types of things that I did to get my message across. Each situation is definitely customized, but it's like, you know, God, how do I get my point across, or let somebody know that this is not something that I can tolerate or deal with, but not have to come out of my face and, you know, show my own ass, basically.
Have you ever encountered someone who didn't get the message? You being subtle and all, but them still not getting it quite right? And they're still acting out and trying to, you know, treat you like trash.
I wouldn't say still act. So I had another situation with another, I'm telling you, I was the difficult white man whisperer at my job. So there was one time I made a mistake on a flight, right?
Okay.
And I owned up to the mistake. I was like, oh man, I changed the flight, all of that, and made certain that that particular behavior didn't happen again. But that guy, he brought me into his office and said, He said, I got an executive admin to make my life easier. You're not making my life easier.
How long was this after the incident? How long was this after the mistake that he called you into the office?
This might have been like maybe 2 weeks after, or like a month or something.
Oh my goodness. So he confronted you straight on, like, hey.
He confronted me, yes. So what I had to also realize, and this is the thing that I have been piling on since younger, is I have to know that I have to know myself, right? And know what is expected of me, not just as a worker, but as a human being.
Yes.
So that's like, to me, knowing yourself. So for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm supposed to be perfect, because that's what he's expecting. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. So I was able to capture that, like, and that was really a motto of mine when I work. And I really learned this from working in Jamaica and having autonomy. When you're when you don't have autonomy and you work in a corporate place, you tend to take on responsibilities or thoughts of of what others expect of you, but it's not real life. What I learned,
it's not you.
It's not you, and it's not life, honestly. Like what I learned in Jamaica from working and owning businesses is that you're going to make mistakes. You, in fact, need to make mistakes. You need to fail in order to figure out certain things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that in corporate America. It's like, you know, as soon as you make a mistake, it makes you less than. That is what people will have you think.
What was the intent? Sorry to interrupt there, but what was his intent to bringing you into the office and saying that? Was it to would you call it, threaten you, to make you feel a certain way? What was he trying to do there?
His intent, in my opinion, was to scare me and to exact his control.
Right.
Which,
so you live in fear or work in fear.
Exactly, which is the opposite of how someone is going to be fruitful. Then now it's going to be like, everything I'm going to be scared of, so I'm going to make more mistakes.
Of course, because you're on edge, you're walking on eggshells.
Exactly. But that is his usual pattern. So what I noticed I was doing with these people, I was disrupting their usual patterns, but not in the way, because both of these guys had multiple admins who could not deal with them, because the usual way is, if someone belittles you, you're either going to stay in silence and then bust, because most people, that's what they do. And the admins basically told them about themselves and couldn't work with them. But for
good riddance. My types of women.
They were happy not to be with them. But what happened was, because of how they behaved, they wound up looking crazy, which isn't right.
Because they what'd you call it? It was like they bit, you know, like the bait. They gave them the bait, they bit, and for them it was like, oh, you know, how dare you talk all this crazy stuff to me, when they gave them an opportunity to fire them, essentially.
Right. No one is confronting them. No one's going to go to them and tell them, you know, well, maybe you should change your behavior, which they should, in my opinion, but whatever. So for me, knowing this about myself, I said to him, how am I making your life difficult? He wasn't expecting that.
What did he say?
He paused.
I'm shocked.
He paused. He said, because I expect for you as my admin, you know, to basically not make these mistakes. And I said, well, I am going to make mistakes. I am human. But what happened is that I corrected it immediately. I learned from my mistakes. And as you can see, this hasn't happened. I learned something valuable in that. And he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything.
Really?
After that. Nope. He was really floored by the fact that I asked him, how am I making your life difficult?
Because in his world, his word goes. That's it.
Correct.
He has the final say.
Correct.
But like, I can't believe your level of patience always like astounds me.
After
because
I cursed out a boss, like
but that's what I'm saying. That patience to literally listen to what someone is saying, even though they're talking so much trash, wait for them to finish, and then ask, how am I doing? Like, by then, I'm all fire. Like, the blood would have just...
No, I had a visceral reaction within myself. Like,
really?
I wanted to fight him. That's how I felt.
I'm telling you.
But I said, no, we're going to hear this.
Yeah.
I know this is bullshit, what he's saying.
Literally.
But I had to know and understand my worth. I'm like, in my mind, I know I'm smart. You can't tell me nothing about that. I know I'm going to make mistakes. You can't tell me nothing about that. I know I do a good job. You can't. So all of those things, I'm armed with that confidence. So what you're saying to me, I know is bullshit. But I don't have to address you and tell you it's bullshit for you to, again, get the message. And the message...
His plan flopped.
The question is like, how am I making your life difficult?
The nerve, the audacity, the gall. Oh my goodness.
After that, I left. But after that, I went and spoke to my own personal manager, and I needed to get a boost. So I dealt with the situation well. It was great, but it did have an effect on me. So I needed to go to my mentor. Actually, it's my mentor that I went to, and to get a boost and of support, which I did. So,
did his behavior change after that, or was it he was still being shady? Yes,
it did. I'm telling you, these two guys, I became their favorite. Anything.
I'm telling you.
Because
that's a skill.
Yes.
It's a skill set.
But I had to pray. I prayed first. I always prayed. Did I feel nervous? Yes, I did. But I had an understanding of myself, which I did not get and would not get from a corporate America.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is how it's done. That is how it's done. If you don't want to kill your bosses, if you don't want to kill family members or friends or anyone else in life, you need to take those steps that Rachel basically did in communicating with people.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you though, Rachel, is like, how have we got to this place? Why is it that now we're in a culture where we don't feel safe to say anything, or it isn't warranted, like it's not invited? You can't say your piece. You can't communicate, even with people in a higher position than you, or even people in a lower position than you. How is it that we are so quick to talk, but we don't have that capability of having our safe space and saying exactly how we feel?
I would say, honestly, Grace, and you can let me know how you feel about this. I don't think it was ever a culture where you could be received and heard. It was never that.
Really?
So what I think is happening now with social media, it's like you have a platform now where you can say anything that you want to say, but the skills haven't been implemented. So it's like you're able to say whatever the hell you want to say online, but when you meet up with somebody and you have confrontation, you don't know how to deal with confrontation. You didn't learn how to deal with confrontation. You just found a place where you can hide and say what you want to, but none of your skills have been engaged where you really know how to handle conflict and confrontation. So
there's no conflict and confrontation button for all of these platforms that have been created.
Right.
So you've got a sphere of people who can actually say whatever it is that they want, but no one's going to counteract that. You literally put your thoughts out in the air, right? And technically, if someone says something bad to you, you can just block them.
Exactly.
You can unfollow them.
Exactly.
So there's no opposition to your thoughts. That's why I believe we all live, well, not all of us, but a lot of us engage in thought bubbles. We only follow people who tweet like us, who sound like us, who
Right.
think like us, and anybody else who is in opposition to, who could help us develop our own thoughts, we basically block or cancel them.
Right. So to me, it's always been a culture where you really can't speak, and which is something that can't work for me, because try as I might, I can't not be vocal. Like, I am the vocal one in my family, the one who will tell the truth that nobody else wants to hear. Was it always delivered with grace and precision? No. It's something I had to exercise and learn from trial and error, but it was always important for me to say what it is that I needed to say. So I needed to find a way to say it, because I'm not going to hold it back. It is going to backfire. So I know that won't work. So those are things I have basically incorporated what my personality is going to be able to take. Like, I can't take not saying anything for being disrespected. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do you find the way to, and it doesn't always work out in the way that I want it. Because you have people who are not trying to hear you at all, which is why I left my job, my last job. I had several conversations, and I understood within myself, I am this is a dry well. I'm not going to get anything. This is a dry rock. It is
beating a dead horse.
Yes, the dead horse. I'm wasting my time. And it didn't feel okay in the moment. And it didn't feel all right at all, especially with all that I went through. But I still understood within myself, I have a choice. And that's always the thing to keep in mind. You know, you do have a choice. As difficult as the choice may seem, like, okay, if you're being held at gunpoint, right? You're like, I don't have a choice. I was going to get killed. You can choose to die. You always have a choice. So even if it's difficult, you have that choice. And for me, with my job, I was like, I was so convicted with what was happening that I was like, you know what? I would rather not be here, which means no income coming in from a workplace.
I hear that. Like, I was in the same situation where I quit on the spot, guys, and I didn't know where I was going to get the money to pay for my rent. And I literally, again, it comes from that conviction. And I think that conviction always comes from the hurt and anger towards injustice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And standing for something.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when they don't stand for anything, they fall for anything, right? You're just like a sheep. You get led wherever.
Yep.
But when you're someone who's, you have your own values at your core, you have integrity, you know who you are, you know what it is that you will allow and won't allow.
Right.
It's almost like the line has been drawn in the sand. I can't go further than this. This is my breaking point. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
This is my breaking point. This is where I stop. The journey ends here for me. You guys can go on, but I can't do that, right? Word. And that's how I always found myself constantly saying, like, yeah, you guys are doing that, but I'm not going to cross over this line, because that means I compromise everything, right? And I just basically wanted to know, like, how do we create, apart from those tools that you've given us, right? How do we create these safe spaces outside of work then? Because you've given us little tidbits in the workplace, right? Praying before you go in, not going in aggressively, not speaking aggressively, but literally asking questions, right? Seeing what the issue is, trying to remedy the situation. But that can also be said outside of the workplace, having the tools. I think you touched upon it before about knowing how to deal with conflict, having the tools to voice your opinion or whatever to a friend, to a partner, a lover, or to a family member, where there's a safe space where they can actually hear you, or you feel safe enough to say something.
I'm sorry, was that a question to me, the last one? Do I
yeah like how can we do that? Is it exactly the same thing, or again, each scenario is custom made based on the person you're speaking to?
So is the question, how do I create a safe space outside of conflict? Or
no, outside of a work environment,
okay,
and with conflict, how do we deal with conflict?
Okay.
Because a lot of people, that's what they avoid, right? Like you were saying before, the fear factor comes from, I don't want to get in trouble with that person. I don't want to, get into an argument. I don't want this friendship to end, or to get fired, whatever it is.
Right.
It's that opposition. It's that friction that people are trying to avoid and don't want to deal with. How do we do that effectively?
So I'm going to answer what I think, and you let me know if that's a direction. Because then I have two things I'm going to answer. So creating is it like a support system outside of work so that you can know how to deal with these situations? Am I answering the right thing there?
No. So basically, like, I have an issue, let's say, with a girl called Jessica.
Okay, got it.
I have an issue with Jessica for a really long time. I don't know how to approach Jessica, but this thing keeps on happening over and over again. But I value Jessica enough for me to say something, but I also value myself to know that I don't want this thing to continuously be on repeat.
Got it.
How do I talk to Jessica about that effectively?
All right. So I would say the first thing is for me that I do is I use my observation skills. Like if something is happening that I'm not comfortable with, I take notice of that and I don't deny it. I take notice of it, and I don't address it immediately, because I could be having a bad day. I could be looking at it the wrong way. I could whatever, but I notice it and I pay attention, so that when it happens again, I'm like, okay, this is something that has now happened about 2 times. And again, it depends on what it is, because if it's like immediate disrespect in my face, I handle that right away. But if it's like a behavior that I am feeling, like there's subtlety, but there is an unpleasantness in the behavior. I wait and I watch, and I will give it 3 times. That's what I do.
That's the magic number. 3
times is a pattern. And I don't know if this is something I've ever done consciously, but it's like, I don't like how I feel when that person did that. And then the next time it's like, they did it again. So I
still don't like the way it feels, right?
Yeah. And then the 3rd time I'm like, okay, that's what I was waiting for it to happen a 3rd time. Because then I'm addressing it at the 3rd time. So what I do, that helps me to gather data, and it helps me to know, like,
That's how she worked in a bank. I'm gathering data.
And I'm make sure that, I'm looking at this the right way, and it's not just something that I've made up. And again, like how we spoke before, my gut is already telling me, but we're not just going to go with the gut. We're going to go with information that I have now seen. And I will be direct. I notice that, this particular behavior is bothering me. You may not mean to do it. I may be misunderstanding it. So I give a lot of, I keep using grace today, but I give
Thank you very much.
I give a lot of grace and space for that person to be able to like explain, and also give them a benefit of a doubt. Like they may not be doing it on purpose, even though I may think it's on purpose. And if I think it's on purpose, this relationship is not going to go far anyway. Because if you're doing something to me on purpose, but no matter what I think, I'm not going to hit you up with that, but I'm not going to deny what I think also. So your words are going to be the, how do you, so that is the information that I need that's going to connect your actions and my thoughts is your words. So what is it that you have to basically say for yourself?
Wow, that's so patient.
But I have to be, because for me, why this is a great process, even though it is not immediately satisfying, is that when I make my decision, it is certain. It's so certain.
Like, okay, so in a sense where you haven't blown anything out of proportion, you haven't acted out of emotion or out of paranoia or out of anger. It's logical, it's sound.
Yes, I have dotted my I's and crossed all T's. So if I decide I can't continue with this relationship, I am at peace. If I decide that, oh, we can continue, I am at peace. I have all my reasons lined up. But I am going to be honest, and I'm going to give you grace. I'm going to hold you accountable, and then I'm going to see how you behave afterwards. And those are like, what I do is I remove my, not remove my emotions, but I put my emotions to the back seat so that I can be logical about this. But I don't remove my emotions though.
Okay, that's where I felt. I do. I was like, I switch off. Like, automatically switch off. Like, okay, I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean?
It's easy to do because,
oh my gosh, yeah,
we've not been taught this. Who taught me this? Who taught me this? Nobody taught me this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I had to learn through trial and error. So these are the things. It's like, okay, now. These are things we teach our children.
Yeah,
the things that we teach, even speaking on this podcast, or if you're in a friendship, you will see how the person displays this behavior, and which is also a reason why I am honest with how I behave, because even if I end my relationship with you, you may not understand in the moment, but at some point later, if you're ever ready to receive that lesson, it is there for you to learn and understand and even model. You can model that same behavior, because I was like transparent about it. So say with my ex-husband, we have an understanding. It's like, yes, Rachel, you had to leave. I get it. I didn't need his validation, and this is years later that he said it, but it was like, I was clear, I was honest, I was all of that. So
up front,
you can lie to yourself, but I didn't lie to you. So yeah,
that's actually hilarious.
Yeah,
that's absolutely hilarious. Like, I wanted to say one last thing in regards to what we touched about social media, right? I wanted to ask you in your thoughts, what do you think about cancel culture?
I think cancel culture can be beneficial in certain ways, because for me, before I learned to balance, I used to put all my energy in everything, and that is just a no. Every little argument, it's like I'm putting 100%. Excuse me. So I had to.
Is this online?
I wouldn't say online, but like in life. So I feel like online kind of taught me a lesson, not only online, but it's like, you don't have to put your full everything into everything. There are certain things where you could literally cancel. Not everything deserves your full energy. So in that, I appreciate that. I've learned, and this is, of course, from me, who's on the other extreme. I overly care. I overly want to talk something.
I hear that.
So it's like, son, sometimes you just got to cancel. And I've learned how to do that. It's like, how important is this thing? So I feel like that part of it is beneficial. The other part where it's like, you're just speaking nonsensically, because I've experienced conflict online where
Really?
both ends, where we were able to come to an understanding, or the person, we were not able to. And so what I did with that situation, when that person who wasn't understanding or wasn't trying to resolve, I saw that it was not a productive conversation. So what I said literally is, I said, you know what? I know when it is time to conserve my precious energy for a conversation that's not going to be productive. I literally typed that. And the person said, yeah, me too, after she said nonsense, but she was trying to not be embarrassed and save face. She said, have a blessed day. And that's what gave it away to me. Blessed day. You know, you are so bothered by what I said. You were trying to one up me and you look ridiculous. So cancel culture, on the most part, I don't think it's beneficial, but there are things that can be learned where you don't have to put all your energy into everything. Because literally, we're like talking about something and we don't really know each other. And it's, again, I'm not God. I'm not your God. And it's not for me to make you understand something.
Yeah. So. I'm a proponent of allowing people to say whatever it is they want to say, because I want to know what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of us, especially online, I don't want to say we, because I don't do this, but a lot of people, they hide behind avatars.
Yes.
They hide behind profiles.
Yes.
Where you don't know who they are or whatever, but these ideologies are real. These thoughts are real. A lot of people say this all the time. I'd rather know a racist is racist than pretend to be my friend who is my next door neighbor who I borrow cups of sugar from, but who secretly wants to kill me.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need that. I need you to be a racist right in front of my face. Right. I need you to be a douchebag right in front of my face. I need to know who you are. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So for me, I love the idea, like, this is so stereotypically American, right? Free speech. Oh my gosh, free speech, right? Mm-hmm. In the UK and in Europe, free speech is there, but it's not like an amendment. It's not like, written down. Like, I have to have my free speech, right?
Imagine a world that it's not allowed. Wow. That's American privilege.
I'm telling you, like, it's completely different. But I care more about consequences. And I don't think that consequences should be cancel culture. Do you know what I mean? Because nowadays, I think we take it too far. I think there needs to be a balance. Because I feel like in the world of the internet, you give us an inch, we take a mile. You give us a little bit of leeway, we go ham, right? Mm-hmm. Someone says something stupid, we want to cancel them. We don't like this person because of the choices they've made, we cancel them. Right. Where there are actually real things that people could be cancelled over, right, but we just lump them all in the same basket. Yeah. That's the difficulties that I have with, and let's say someone just tweeting something stupid, mm-hmm, and someone actually being a complete dirtbag, right? It's not the same.
Right.
And there's no filter for that, right, unfortunately. And that's what I struggle with. But for online and all of this muting thing, I think that's what needs to stop. That's what really irks me about the communication system that we've created. We easily bully people. And I think I was reading something today about Letitia Wright. I don't know if you know her. Letitia Wright, she's, did you watch Black Panther?
Yeah, Hell to the movie, right?
Yes. So, Chadwick Boseman's sister in the movie, Letitia Wright. Yeah, so she's a British actress, right? Mm-hmm. She shared information about a COVID vaccine. I think that is official now in the UK today. I think you can take in COVID-19, it's been approved. She tweeted about it, about how she was skeptical about it or whatever, or didn't want to, advocate for people to take this vaccine, right? Mm-hmm. Automatically, she's trying to spread COVID. Automatically, because she's worried about a vaccine, she needs to be cancelled because she doesn't want to take a vaccine.
Or she's Black people don't want
to take that. Bruh, I'm telling you, this is what I'm trying to say. My mom stopped taking it. And it's one of those things where she's like, okay, let's wait for every single government member to take this vaccine for us
Yeah.
to watch it back and see,
That I
okay,
don't
is
trust
it
because they could
working?
be giving them something else.
Exactly,
Come on.
exactly, right? But this is the thing. It's someone having a completely different opinion from you. You don't have to agree. That's the thing. You don't have to agree. Why is it that you have cancelled this person for this
Right.
thought?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
In their waking life, they are not hurting anyone. In their waking life, they are not someone who's exercising something completely horrid. They have an opinion, and it's like, no.
To me, how I see this type of behavior, number one, to me, this is human nature. This is nothing new.
Trash.
This is nothing surprising, but it's just a slight new twist on how it can be done. I think people really bank on their likes being so powerful that it's going to be detrimental to somebody's identity if if I unfollow you or whatever. That's number one. And then it's the second thing where, because that is a culture that's being perpetuated, if you're not strong enough to go back into yourself and understand you didn't start from likes. That's not what life is about. It's about likes. So being able to deal with the consequences, like I said, you always have a choice. So you don't have to be tied to these likes. Like, it's like, all right, if you want to unfollow. You don't even have to make this a conversation. Just cancel me. Don't even say.
But this is what I'm saying though, Rachel. Counseling. I can't even say it. Canceling people has gone beyond unfollowing. It's gone beyond unliking. It goes to, well, you need to lose your job. Well, we want you to be off of that movie set, or we want you to stop doing this. You know what I mean? It goes beyond that.
But I don't think that's new.
But that's crazy. You don't think that's crazy? Like, you say something online right now, and automatically it's not just about someone unfollowing you, but someone like going out of the way to make sure that you lose your job, going out of the way that it's like your whole life is ruined.
Depending on what it is, I kind of agree with that. Depending on
really?
What it is.
If it's something like a vaccine, I get it. If someone is,
that's what I said. Depending on what it is. So like
that, I agree.
The way they do with the racist thing, that works.
Yeah, the racist. Absolutely, that goes without saying. So, because most of these people are not even sorry.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
So stuff like that, it's like, yes, but it being carried, again, people not understanding context. The context.
That's my issue. That's what I get stressed out about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like there's no filter. There's no filter and there's no balance. Do you know what I mean?
But there's also another lesson, in my opinion. Not everyone needs to know your opinion too. So I'm not saying,
True, actually.
Filter everything you say. But it's like some stuff is like, for why did you say that? Why was that necessary?
But do we actually live life like that? We usually say it and then go, I shouldn't have said that. Do you know what I mean?
And really then you learn for the next time. I don't think I'm going to say that, because it's like, really, is it that important? There are things that are important to me that I will be vulnerable about in public, because I think it's important that other people learn and But then there are other opinions that I have. It's like, I don't have a problem with giving unpopular opinions. That's not my issue, but it's like, really, what do they need to, why? So I would say, why did she say that? That's a conversation she could have just had with her friends. Because people are douchebags. If you're expecting people to be the higher, if you're expecting the masses to behave on a higher level, you have fooled yourself, and you are.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
About the human race.
I totally agree with that. Like, humans can't be trusted with anything. I say this all the time to my family. We can't even enjoy anything nice because we're going to ruin it. you know?
I would say a lot. I wouldn't say humans overall, because I'm a part of humans. And there are really good people out there, but I would call them the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we've come full circle.
Yes. Hopefully that made sense. I feel like we were
that makes perfect sense,
especially with my stories. I felt like I was all over the place.
No, but they all made sense because you was giving us practical tools, practical ways of being able to solve this. Like for me, I know that's not tools that I use. I'm trying. I'm trying. Am I really trying? I don't know. I'm trying in terms of how I approach people. A lot of the times I don't approach people. I just hide. I hide in my house because I don't want to talk to anybody. But when I do, I'm mindful of not saying everything that I think. And that's the problem with me. I don't care how I say it. I can be mean about it. I can be kind about it. When I say what I think, people always get the wrong impression. They basically lose their minds, right? Either I'm super mean or either I am, blowing something out of proportion. There's always something going on. So I've been this year in particular, not just this year, I think it was last year, from October of last year, I've been mindful in what I share and how much I share, or what I say and how much I say of it, in terms of approaching people. Like I really am working on choosing my battles, picking my battles. Which one do I really fight and which one I don't? Do I really want to approach this person? And Rachel touched upon the idea of caring too much and just giving too much. I am just naturally a lot. Do you know what I mean? And I've always been that person where if I feel something, I feel it intensely. If I'm naturally a passionate speaker, I'm a passionate person, I'm a passionate thing. Like I just have so many ideas. Sometimes I'm just passionate and I'm not angry and people think I'm angry. And I think that's just a Black person culture. And literally it is a Black person thing. You can be so kind and nice to someone, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel attacked, and it's like, no bro, I'm trying to tell you what it is.
But that's not your job to make those types of people comfortable too,
right?
There's things that's you and there's things that's people, like they need to know that's not your problem. Literally.
Or getting called angry. Like us Black women, we get it the worst, right? Oh my gosh, you're so angry. Okay, instead of me apologizing about being angry, what if I am angry because you keep on messing up. I am angry, you're not doing your job correctly. I am angry because I have to always pick up the slack. Right? How is it that you have the right to be angry and I don't? How is it that you have the right to be vulnerable and I don't? How is it that you have the right to speak your mind and I don't? Like, and these are the things that I used to be so passionate about, where it's just like, I wouldn't say anything because I was like, oh, I have the words, but the mentality, I don't, the what do you call it? The tone. I don't have the tone, right? And I will silence myself. Yeah, I'll silence myself and then I won't say anything. And then sometimes I'll say something, but I don't say it clearly enough. Or even if I do, the people don't want to hear me out. And it always ended the same way, me cussing people out. I'm not proud of it, but essentially that's the case. And I remember Rachel was helping me with something at the beginning of the year where I had this back and forth with someone I was volunteering from. And it was just so hard for me to pinpoint because this person, they weren't aggressive. They were so subtle with the things that they were doing, passive aggressive, really subtle. And I had no evidence in what they were doing. Right. And every time they did it, it was isolated, just me and this person. So there's no one I can tell and say, hey, this person, this person, that. And I was like, what is it? How do I approach this person? Because their persona that they carried out is completely different to the person that I knew intimately, as in these closed spaces. They were always the victim. They were always shy. They were always, submissive. They will always, like no one would ever believe me if I say that person's literally a witch. Like no one will believe me, right? And it was always, and I felt everything was so calculating. Every conversation we had was super calculated. Like what? And there's kind of people who talk subtly that you only realize what they said when you're already like on your way home. Half an hour in your journey, you've just reached your door, you've opened the door with the key. Me. And literally, that person was literally trying to set me up. Like, what? And it took a long time to kind of, because a lot of the times the messages that they will send me, again, what Rachel was saying, I will feel bad. I will feel guilty. I will feel a certain way about it, to the point where I will show my husband, hey, does this read the way that I read it, or am I losing my mind? He's like, no. This is exactly how you see it. This person's being very shady. Mm-hmm. So it just kept on happening over and over and over again. And every time I would feel guilty, I would feel terrible. But I still didn't know how to speak to this person. And every time I wanted to speak to this person, maybe my face gave it away. Mm-hmm. They will have a buffer with them. Mm-hmm. Where it's like they don't even want to speak to you face to face. And then when I have the courage to say, hey, can we talk, please? I want to talk to you. They will run away, like literally run away, guys. I'm not joking. Literally run away, avoid me. Where it's like I'm looking for them every single place. I'm going, hey, have you seen this person? Can you tell them when you see them that Grace is looking for you?
I remember that.
Yep. Hey, where are you? Disappeared. To the point where it was almost like it was cat and mouse.
Yep.
It was cat and mouse. And every time there's a buffer around, their personality will be very grandiose, where are you looking for me? And I'm like, what? Who is this person? Every time they're alone, snivel, cry. I'm a victim. You can't say anything to me. Mm-hmm. So the choice that I chose for me, and I'm sure all of this is different for everybody else, was I chose to walk away. Mm-hmm. In a sense where I just chose to step away, because I wasn't getting any leeway. I wasn't getting any room, mm-hmm. right? They weren't creating a space for me. And I think they knew what it is I was looking for. Mm-hmm. Hence why they were blocking me at every single turn. So I took a step back and I phased it out. This relationship, this mm-hmm. constant communication, I phased it out to the point where they then started bothering me all the time. And I was just ignoring them. They're ignoring their phone calls, ignoring their messages. Mind you, I was pregnant at the time, so I had an excuse, but it was one of those things where, did I do something wrong? Is there something like, yo, I've been trying to talk to you for how long? Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I think I had the mental space to kind of deal with it internally, where I just got to the point where I don't need to talk to you anymore. I just will phase it out.
But then it seemed in that, from what I remember also, that there's a type of person, who will hear you.
Yeah.
It was not the type of person, from what I understood.
She did not. She did not.
Conversation would not have ever been productive anyway.
Literally. But I didn't know it at the time, because I was just trying to, okay, I need to say something. And you know what's really crazy though? It's one of those things where the person would only want to hear you, and technically not hear you. They would only make time for you to get what they want.
Correct. So it's
right?
Not to hear you. Right.
Exactly. It's not to hear you. I'm going to give you time to speak because I want something from you. I'm going to book a meeting with you because I need something from you.
Right.
And you know what's really crazy? I didn't tell you this, is a couple of months ago, the same person got in touch with me because they were being reported by someone else about their behavior. So the thing that I couldn't do, and I started to think, I was like, was that even the hand of God? Was that the hand of God saying, you know what?
That's so crazy to reach out to you. Yeah. You would be the last person I would reach out to, because I done did this to you.
Literally, right? Reached out to me. This is what I'm saying.
Gold.
But I think God did it that way so that I can hear it and know it myself. Because if she didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known all of this stuff is going on, because I had already walked away, right? And I also believe that it was God's way, it was God's hand in blocking this conversation between me and this person. Reason being, probably I wasn't ready. I probably would have cussed her out too. Do you know what I mean? Right. Like, I probably wasn't ready for it, even though I wanted to go in with the right intent. Maybe they probably wouldn't have been ready to hear it, and I would have just lashed out and be like, you know what, I'm out. Right. Deuces, right? But anyways, she calls me and says, hey, just wanted to talk to you. I've got something going on. I'm struggling, blah, 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 blah. This is what's been going on, because I know that you're not part of this group anymore. So it was a personal group. You're not part of it anymore. So I know that you're not going to be talking to anyone about it, right? Clearly, it means you can trust me. Clearly, I'm not the problem. Mm-hmm. But basically, I've been reported about such and such. And
wow.
Everybody's saying this and this about me, and I just wanted to confirm, is this how I am, and have I done anything wrong?
How would you not have told me this?
Because I was like, do you know what it is? I was like, what? I didn't understand, because the example she was giving me, well, this happened and this happened. Do you think this is the case? I was like, I was never there. I was never included. And as I'm saying these things, she's exposing herself in a way where she never included me in anything. She never involved me in anything, right? And then she was like, okay, yeah. I don't think that was like. She was just basically, there's all of these things happening. I'm doing the hard work and doing whatever it is that she needed me to do for her, helping her out. So it was basically like a little job, helping her out. But anything that was social or functions or whatever, I was never included. And I didn't even know, because I just did my job. And when I went home, right. And then these people who are involved in the social gatherings, they're the people who are reporting her.
You didn't want to be in those gatherings anyway.
Of course not. I wasn't included. Clearly. Some things are just like, some people are not for you. Some spaces, this is the thing. You're silenced, all of these things, it's not for you.
Yes.
It's not, some things, like you said, we can't remedy everything. Correct. Not everything's going to work. Right. Not everything is going to be right. But once we use the tools the best way that we know how.
Correct.
To implement them in the situations that are tailor-made, right? We just navigate ourselves in a way where it's like, okay, I'm going to act like this in this situation, act like this in this situation, because every single person is different. Right. But once we do that, we give ourselves that space. We ourselves create that free range of saying, okay, I need to address this person and I need to say what is right for me, right? By being our authentic selves. That's what you said. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. But it has taught me a lot. I'm not there yet, guys. Of course not. I'm not. But the one thing that I know Rachel taught me in one of her many tools, right? I'm going to start calling her Mary Poppins. She literally has everything in her bag. For real. It's the walking away aspect, walking away where you're not holding on to something. Not holding on to something and releasing, because it's about control. For me, it was control. I need to tell her how I feel. I need to tell her about herself, because I can't be doing this anymore. Like, she needs to know, right? Yeah. And the more I thought about it, the more passionate I would get, the more angry I would get. So it was just useless, because I would just attack her. If I ever saw her, I would just attack her. But the idea of surrendering and letting go and saying, you know what, it's not about not dealing with your emotions. It's just knowing the battles, right? Choosing the right battles. Like you said, was it really going to be a productive conversation? Right. At this point, of course not. I didn't know that at the time, but I had to go through that to be able to know it wasn't going to work. She was never going to listen. She had her own ideology. Like, she just had her own thoughts. Right. And I wasn't part of that. Whatever plan she had, I wasn't part of that. Right. And it only took me from walking away, stepping back and going, all right, I'm just going to focus on myself and not really engage, to hear what was said. And I think that was an answered prayer. Yeah. It was really an answered prayer. So thank you, Mary Poppins, Black Mary Poppins. Thank you very much. I'm going to
take that. I'm seriously going to take that, Grace. Black Mary Poppins. I love that.
No, the tools are there. Like I said, I'm just not there. I'm just not there as a person. Like, every day I struggle, because I want to fight every single person once I leave my home. That's why I like to stay indoors. But I'm telling you. But
it's not exercising any muscle when you do that. Mm-hmm. It is just allowing you to be in your comfort zone.
It's carnal. It's so carnal. Like, I'm already a meat eater. I can't have anything without meat. When I tell you, I am so carnal, like, in a way where it's like, I need to tell them what I think. This is BS. I'm sick and tired of it. Like, it's nuts. But it was very interesting to see that. I've never experienced that ever.
You took a different route. This was out of your room.
I've never experienced it. And I was so bitter about it. I was so bitter because I couldn't lash out. Yep. I remember all the time Rachel going, don't lose your nerve, don't lose your temper, relax. I'm like, I'm sick and tired of these people, But yeah, I was really bitter for a really long time. Once I stepped away, I was like, I can't believe I got treated like that again. I can't believe I allowed someone to do me like that. Only for all of these things to be happening behind the scenes that I wasn't part of, because God was protecting me. Crazy.
Preach, girl. So yeah, what I want to say or reiterate is being vocal is important, and it is important that we do it. especially when you feel like you will be losing parts of yourself. It is important.
Yes.
But the how that you do it and the times that you do it, in my opinion, is what really counts, because you're not always going to be heard and understood all the time, and that is not everybody's job to do. That's really, how can I say, like for me, I've experienced abandonment in childhood and all of that, and there are things in childhood that you don't get that you expect as an adult, which is, I'm not going to say it's wrong, it just makes sense. A neglected child is a neglected adult, so there are things that you have to work out within you, so it's not, you're not expecting things from people that it is not their job to do. But when it is your time to be vocal, if it's important enough that you do, just understand, even if it's not received, even if it's not understood, it is not your job to do that. It is your job to be your authentic self. So speak your truth. And there may or may not be consequences for that. Our society does not support that. I can say that at times I see that it's getting better, but it's not an expectation, or don't let it be an expectation that you're always going to be received for being your authentic self. The importance is for you. It's for you to feel within yourself that you have respected and just have integrity with yourself. And
that's a highlight.
Yeah, it's many relationships. I actually, to answer your question, Grace, how I really learned how to be patient was because of my ex-husband.
Crazy.
All these arguments, he was constantly not understanding me, constantly not hearing, and it had to do with his emotional intelligence. And I learned, oh, this conversation won't make sense, or, oh, I'm giving too much of myself to have him understand. So I started learning, oh, a conversation that's not going to be productive, I need not bother. And after a while of going through that, I was able to assess quickly, because that was my training ground. So when it came to other people, I was like, okay, this won't work, this will work.
Oh,
yep, that was my training. And it was not fun, let me tell you. It wasn't fun.
It's never fun, man.
With a great a tool to use. So for that,
but that's the key. That's the key. And I think that's where we should end with that key is, not everybody is going to be open to hearing what you have to say, and we need to be okay with that. Not everybody is going to be ready to receive you, but that shouldn't deter you from being your authentic self. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I love it.
So with that, another wonderful conversation that we've explored. Yeah. Hopefully others have learned, because I certainly have. I really enjoy speaking on this platform. I really, again, enjoy speaking to you, Grace. So give us a follow.
Yes.
On our Instagram, which is soulspeak_podcast. We will enjoy your comments, questions, whatever you got. Hopefully you don't cancel us, but if you got to,
please don't. As funny as that was, please don't.
In addition to that, I've got my own Instagram. Again, I'm a writer. I'm writing a manual for young adults who've experienced trauma and how to navigate within the world that we're in a healthy fashion. And I do poetry. And my Instagram is The Sassy Rachel. And thank you for having listened to me. On to you, Grace.
So yes, you guys can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Grace_Kugrena. And you can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @the_reading_hideout. And I write children's books, picture books, so kidlit. So if you have any kids who are interested in picture books, they can be able to find them on Amazon as well as Kindle. You can also find me on Instagram there and everything that I'm up to. So give us a follow. That would be great.